better shake your booties for black girl nerds.
Hello, Kate. We meet again. And we are on the other side from when we first spoke to each other.
I know. I'm in London now. You look amazing, by the way. I love your jacket.
Thank you. I feel like I just came from the TVA after party, and I just have to, keep my jacket over my shoulders. Now that we are on the other side of it, the first half of the season, the big wowzer that we only get half, how do you feel now to have that portion of it done and everyone has seen it?
I just feel so happy, honestly. Like, I think that the response has been amazing. I've loved seeing the fan art, the cosplay, the cakes. It's like there's just been so much joy and love for the show, and it feels great. And also relieved I don't have to keep the secret anymore about Jonathan Majors. Sitting on that secret for so long, and it was so funny watching the fans be like, oh, maybe Kang will be in the show, and I'm like, maybe, but I couldn't talk about it. So yeah, exactly. So it's been really, really fun to just, like everyone knows now what we do in the show, and the response has been awesome.
The response to Jonathan Majors' revelation was like mind blowing. When you brought him in, he had to keep the secret for a long time too, since we don't see him until the very end. When he was approached about reviving this character, how was it explained to him and how he fits into the MC universe going through the avenue of a series instead of the film?
Yeah, so basically, I think so. I had a casting meeting, and it was like me, Peyton, and who's the director and Ant-Man, and obviously Kevin Feige, Lou, Victoria, Kevin Wright, and Stephen Broussard. And we all were discussing the casting basically of this role. And Jonathan Majors is just an actor that we're all obsessed with, like everyone. And we were like, we think he would be amazing. And so basically, I know he had a call with Peyton, and I had a call with him about our show. So I can't speak to what happened on the call with Peyton, but with me, we spoke about obviously the TV show, who He Who Remains is, that he's a variant. And just honestly about the story in the show, like where Loki's been, his journey, and kind of the idea of free will and good and evil. And we kind of dug really into that, to be honest. And and it was just really fun. I mean, Jonathan, I think, was so excited and threw himself completely into it. And and I think for me and him, it was really about sort of crafting the believability of this character that's very, on one hand, very isolated, because he's at the end of time. The only person we get the impression he probably talks to is not a person at all, and it's Miss Minutes, who's a cartoon talking clock. Mm-hmm. And then also the showman of it all, because he obviously loves talking and telling a story and finding those points where we really wanted the audience to be on side with him, and finding points where we wanted the audience to sort of more question, like, is he telling the truth? Is he not telling the truth? So Sylvie's actions, obviously, I think for me, the dream was the audience, almost like you divide houses, that some people would be like Team Loki and some would be Team Sylvie in terms of what they thought the right decision was. Mm-hmm. But I think that was the key thing with me and Jonathan, was working out those kind of keys, I guess. Yeah.
It was fascinating, even though the anticipation was there to see what Sylvie would do. It was expected because Loki's are gods of chaos. And of course, they would buck at any type of authority. And you guys treaded that line so wonderfully as we waited to see who was going to act and who wasn't going to act. What was the key to treading that fine line? Because Sophia Di Martino was amazing in how that payoff came to us.
Yeah, so I think the real key thing was that our Loki, is in Tom's Loki, he has to have gone on such a big journey, right? And I think you have to believe that, because in the first episode, he's like, I want the throne. And we know that's what he wants. But by episode 6, he's saying, I don't want the throne. I just want you to be okay, to Sylvie. And I think that's the real key thing, is that we have to believe that his journey, we have to believe his growth as a character to then earn the, as you mentioned, like with Sylvie, because in my head, I almost feel like she's almost where Loki was in Thor. She's driven by hate and anger and revenge. And I think that she's putting that into a decision that isn't great, but she's going to do it because she's a Loki. And like you said, chaos, she's going to go for it. So I think that was the real key thing. And also the tension builder was that both sides of the argument. You had to completely believe them both and also know, oh no, they're both going to go through with this. So I think that was the real fun thing there in that way.
Mm-hmm. Everyone is a variant. Everyone's a variant. So is there anyone who's not a variant that we might have missed throughout the season? Not even talking about the next half of what we'll see. If everyone's a variant, is no one a variant?
Maybe, I guess like you could say like Miss Minutes, right? Like, has she got a variant, or is she just specifically part of the TVA we saw? Because the end of our show sets up, you know, this alternate TVA. So it's like, oh, I wonder if Miss Minutes is there, because we don't see her. Maybe, I don't know, to be answered, I guess. But that's the only character I could think of that maybe isn't a variant and is completely unique to, you know, our TVA.
And lastly, I've been seeing a lot of chatter about this line about people breaking the fourth wall. And I wanted to make sure, there are people say that Sylvie broke it, or it broke it in episode 3, and that He Who Remains breaks it in the season finale. Are they breaking the fourth wall, or is it just by chance a glance of camera angle? And should we read more into that?
I think in places, I think with Jonathan for sure, there was like, I think it was in his performance though. It's not necessarily something we discussed, but he threw that in and I thought it was fun. So like, you know, I think because it is like that, right? Because he's meant to have written all our destinies. So I think when he looks you in the eyes, the audience, it's like, oh, he knows my destiny. I am walking down the road he has paved, you know? So I think with him, it's really fun. Yeah, I think sometimes actors, like you said, sometimes actors can do it by accident, but I think sometimes they do it deliberately. And I don't know, I think if it fits story and it feels right, like it's fun to use that and break that reality that way.
Mm-hmm. And one more thing, the head that got knocked off, where is it? Did you get to keep it? Is it still in the set, in the vault? The time TVA head that fell off and rolled on the ground?
Tragically, so it's when we filmed it, it's almost like if you imagine like a giant blue head like that they built. So no, but I wish, but I'm sure it's in a vault somewhere or a cabinet somewhere at Marvel. I mean, it was quite scary. It was massive, but yeah, but I really enjoyed filming with that. And actually a fun bit of info is that the line the head whispers when it's cut off is "see you soon," which is the very last thing he says to Sylvie at the very end, which we added. So that's kind of fun. Oh, and that Jonathan is the voice of the Timekeepers as well. I spoke about that a bit, but yeah, so when we cast Jonathan, I didn't have a voice for the Timekeepers yet. And obviously Wizard of Oz is like a big reference for me and all the team. And I just was like, oh, well, let's get the wizard to be the voices. That makes complete sense. And obviously Jonathan is an amazing character actor. And basically we sent him the art of all the Timekeepers. And then he would just send me and Kevin Wright, my producer, back these amazing like kind of audio notes being like, oh, what about this voice or this voice? And we're like, this is great. So yeah, so I think that was really fun for me as well in terms of just getting He Who Remains voice in across the show.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Kate. I had so much fun with this series, and it was very exciting to see that we get more and more and more. So we can't wait for that. Thank you for your time as always. I hope I get to see you again soon. This was awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Cheers. Nice to see you again. Thank you. Bye.
Better shake your booties for black girl nerves. Better shake your booties for black girl nerves.